and I are in the middle of trying to sell our house, but this market right now is absolutely horrible. Our house has been on the market since like the middle of March, and it's about to be June tomorrow, and still hasn't sold. We've had to drop the price, I think, 3 times.
All right, Bulls and Bears. Hey, we've got a lot of new developments in the U.S. housing market, and specifically in condos. We've got some big price movements that we had been expecting here. It took much longer than most people expected, but we had to let a lot of things play out. We recently just had the announcement that federal layoffs will resume. They had been paused for a while. Also, a lot of other factors are finally hitting the road, so to speak, or where the rubber hits the road. People aren't able to keep up with these costs of owning townhomes, and we're seeing the biggest drops right now in townhomes. Now, single-family homes will follow, and in some areas, single-family homes are already dropping in price. But the bigger drops are starting in the condo market, and there's a few states much worse than others. And if you've been on this channel, you know exactly the states that I've been talking about. But let's get into the news, the numbers, and where this is all headed here. And we'll hear more from that person that we were playing right at the beginning. That's Ava Lancody. And we'll hear more about her selling experience. But first, let's get into the numbers here with townhomes and condo prices. Condo prices have just had a notable decline across the United States, down by 2.2% year over year. Now, that may not seem like a huge drop based on the price increases that we've seen over the past few years, but up until now, it's been increase, year over year increase. And that's the median sales price at the end of May, according to Redfin. This is the second largest drop since the data has been recorded since 2012. This downward trend contrasts with the slight increase seen in single-family homes. So we're still seeing nationwide, on average, single-family home median prices higher year over year. But again, there are some markets, we all know real estate's local. There are some markets that are actually down year over year. But overall, when you combine everything, median home price still positive, condos negative 2.2%. Why is it happening? Well, many reasons. If you've been on this channel, you know exactly the reasons. The cost of carrying a townhome, even though it is a lower cost to begin with, and that's what a lot of entry-level people gravitate towards, because home prices being high, they have to start typically with an attached home or a townhome or a condo. Over on the East Coast, I think they just call them apartments. Whatever the case, you have other costs that you typically may not have with the regular home. Now, you can have an HOA fee with a regular home also, but condo, you're always going to have an HOA. It's rare that you don't have an HOA. And HOA fees have been skyrocketing, partly because of greed, but partly because of skyrocketing insurance costs. And people are seeing their mortgage payments jump up drastically because of these rising insurance costs. Of course, all the disasters happening right now, the wild weather, contributing factor, right? A lot of different contributing factors. We're going to get into all of them here. But first, take a listen to the rest of the story here from the seller.
Yeah, 3 or 4 times at this point. And we're just noticing a lot of houses in our area are doing the same thing. They're just sitting on the market and just having to continually drop the price. And they're great homes, and they were priced fine. But I don't know, just with everything that's going on in the market, I think people are afraid to buy. Obviously, interest rates are really high. It's just been a lot. We've had so many open houses. And what's really hard is, like, today I'm solo parenting. So I have 2 under 2 plus our dog. So, and it's like almost 100 degrees outside, and I have to be out of the house for 3 hours. So not a lot of things I can do. I've literally been sitting in my car in the AC while both the kids nap. They're both awake right now. So as you can hear, I have to feed my baby, and then we're gonna go inside Barnes & Noble, and I'm gonna have my toddler pick out a book. I'm hoping today is the day. I've seen on our camera that we've had like at least 4 groups come by, which is actually really good. So fingers crossed, please, because we're trying to get a new house, and in order to get a new house, we have to sell our current house. So yeah.
So there you heard from someone that is having a difficult time getting rid of her condo, and we're seeing the days on market increase with the sellers right now having to wait longer for an offer, waiting longer, having to drop their prices more. We're seeing more price drops, and we're seeing an imbalance in the single family housing market, seeing an imbalance of 500,000 between the number of people selling versus looking to buy a home. So that's the biggest that we've seen in over 10 years also. But with this drop in condo prices, you also have to look at one of the factors that a lot of people didn't anticipate: the cost of owning a condo. And we're going to hear about the HOA scenarios, the insurance, the surprise assessments, and more. But let's hear from another individual that's going to give us a breakdown of her experience buying a condo and selling in, I think, less than a year here. Take a listen to this.
So I bought a condo 1 year ago, and in July, and now we're in December, and I'm trying to sell that condo. I am going to give my top 3 things that I think people should do or look for before jumping on buying property, especially if you live in California. I bought a condo in California, in Orange County. I lived in a small city that is, I would say, growing now. It's being gentrified quite a bit. I lived near an apartment complex that was renting out apartments for like $4,000 for like a 1-bedroom or studio. But here are my 3 things that I think people should do before they jump on buying property.
3 things.
I just worked out, so I'm a little disheveled, but I can't stop thinking about this. So my first thing that I would recommend when thinking about buying property or buying your first home or condo is to know exactly the areas that you are looking at. Like, to know the area, to have some sort of idea if you enjoy hanging out in that area. You are going to be living in this city. You want to know that you like the city, you like the surrounding areas. You want to know that you'll be able to create a community there. I was fortunate that I had grown up in this area. I was able to establish friendships prior to me buying my own place in this city. But then again, like, I was like living right in the heart of the downtown city. Maybe that is like not always ideal.
You're going to just fast forward past that. Obviously, you want to know the city that you're living in. Number 2 is about finances here. This is the most important part, I think.
About the finances that go into buying a property. So looking back, I wish I spent a little more time looking into the California assistance programs that are offered in California for home buying assistance. So they have like first-time home buyers programs where basically in my city, they were giving back money to people that had gone to a Santa Ana high school and were wanting to buy their first home in Santa Ana. And so I think the first thing you should do after like exploring cities, or maybe before exploring cities, is to make sure you look into like the first-time home buyers assistance programs in California.
First-time home buyer programs, obviously that indicates there might be some financial stress
in your state, and see
in her
if they offer
decision
any
to
sort of
purchase.
That is in a HOA,
Here we go,
homeowners like group, or my condo has an HOA. And initially when I had heard the HOA, I knew it was high. People that were kind of helping me look for places agreed that it was a higher HOA. My HOA was almost $600. Mind you, like, my community hasn't been really kept up. Like, they were doing work on the pool.
$600 a month HOA, folks. And you're going to have to pay taxes and everything else. A mortgage, most likely.
Never really finished it. They had a clubhouse that they never finished. It was like emptied, and we just had security, but the security wasn't that helpful. And so I didn't know where this money was going, this $600, to be completely honest with you. So if you're looking at condos or smaller places that are in communities with an HOA, please be mindful of what your HOA is going to be. You want to make sure that you are not spending $600, $700 a month on God knows what, and you don't know where that money's going. It's been only a year of me owning this condo, and I really want to sell it because I'm sick of spending $600 over my mortgage. I can't handle it. I don't want to live there, and I don't feel like that money's going to the right place. So I'm literally selling my property. So that would be the last thing. I can do more videos about how I...
There you go, folks. So she had a mortgage and a $600 HOA on top of that. Who knows what she was paying total when you factor everything else in, insurance, the mortgage. And then you're responsible as the owner for the repairs on the inside. And you could get a special assessment from the HOA, Homeowners Association, if something goes wrong on the outside, whether it be the roof, the exterior walls of your building, the common areas, right? A car could crash through a fence in the common area, and that's a community fee. You're all going to have to chip in on that. You'll likely get a special assessment, so you want to make sure you're covered under your insurance for that. I think a lot of home insurance companies offer a common area type of coverage. I forget the name of it now, but I actually have it. I just haven't looked at my policy recently. I own a condo, so I'm not bashing condos. I actually live in a single family home. I rent out my condo. We have an HOA. I'm still cash flow positive in this particular condo because rents are just so crazy here in San Diego that Rents are pretty high. But otherwise, if you're not ready to absorb these costs, don't do it. And when you buy a home, or a townhome in this case, or a home with an HOA, either way, you buy it when the HOA is at one price. Now you go to sell it, and your HOA is double what it was when you bought it. Hopefully not double, but we've seen stories where HOAs have doubled in just a few years. Now it's going to be more difficult to sell because new potential buyers are going to see the even higher HOA cost versus what you bought it for. When you bought it, the HOA was lower. So that's going to be another hurdle for new buyers to have to jump over with the higher HOA costs. All right, but back to the selling conditions right now. The prices, the number of buyers versus sellers in condos and townhomes. Prices are down 2.2% year over year. That puts the level at $354,100, $354,100. And there's about 80% more condo sellers than buyers right now. According to Redfin, many condo owners are attempting to unload their condos due to rising HOA costs and insurance costs. Some HOAs are distributing massive taxes, and this factors into consumers' hesitancy, if I could say the word, hesitancy to buy a condo. So on top of everything else going on right now, I mean, with the layoffs now resuming, all the political upheaval happening right now, the protests, we're going to see, I think, a lot more of this volatility and this uncertainty and fear and anxiety, I think, grip a lot of people. And that's another factor on top of all the other ones. That's another factor, I think, that's causing people to question if they can continue to keep up with the cost of owning a home or a townhome in this case. The sales of condos are also down 12% year over year as of the end of May. We're still waiting to get the June numbers, by the way, which is more than 3 times as much as sales for single family homes. Now, the biggest price drops, of course, everyone here on this channel should know this because these two states had the prices run up the most rapidly since the health crisis 2020. These are Florida and Texas. Let's see here. In Dallas, sales are down 33%. Palm Bay, Florida, down 33%. Port St. Lucie, Florida, down 31%. We also have a Phoenix, Arizona City, Phoenix, making it at 32.7% drop in sales. But let's talk about prices. And 7 of the top 10 biggest price drops are actually in Florida. The biggest price drops here, let me give you a couple cities. Crestview, Florida, down 32%. These are year over year, by the way. Texas, we're seeing down in Houston, 23% price drop year over year. Tampa, Florida, down 19%. We also had Oakland, California, cracking the top 10 with a 20% price decline year over year. Sales are sliding just as fast as we talked about just a few minutes ago. So, folks, this is the change. This is the shift that so many people have been waiting for. Is this the beginning of a much bigger housing market downturn? I think the answer would have to be yes. Now, again, they could do anything. Anything could happen. They could come out with all these provisions, just like we saw in 2020, where they cancel foreclosures, where they cancel evictions, and therefore keeping rent prices up. And when rent prices are higher, less people try to sell their homes, because why sell your home when you're going to rent and pay just as much renting, right? So when rental prices drop, it encourages more people to sell, or it motivates people to sell more. So if they put a floor under rents with another eviction moratorium, for example, that could have big impacts on the housing market. I don't think many people are even talking about that, but that's definitely something to look out for. Anything could happen. Let me know what your prediction is. Nobody has a crystal ball. Maybe you do. Let us know down in the comments what's going to happen if you know exactly how it's going to play out. But we're starting to see shifts here, and instead of trying to forecast and make predictions, I'm just going to tell you what's happening and why it's happening. So let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Are you someone in a HOA right now and trying to get out of it because it's a nightmare? HOAs also have their place. I had an elderly family member that loved her HOA. She didn't have to do any yard work. They took care of the trash bill. It was easy just to pay one fee because the HOA in this case took care of the trash. Even the cable TV was included. Everything on the exterior of the pool, they cleaned the pool, which she used, my relative used. Never had to clean the pool herself. It was all included. So, in some cases it can be good, especially if you don't like yard work or cleaning a pool and stuff like that. As long as they don't get out of control with the HOA cost. But some people are buried under an HOA and don't like it. So either way, let me know what you think down in the comments, everybody. As always, thanks for being here. Keep stacking. Much love to everybody. Bye for now. Peace.